Hi, and welcome to
Good Investing.
with Rachel Grunn and
Andrea Cwik. We are so happy y'all tuned back in.
yes, we're so
I've
excited.
gotten some good compliments about the podcast and how excited people are. So,
That is awesome.
yeah.
And we have our first real guest today. Not that you weren't real, but we have someone now outside of the pod that's joining us, which we are so excited
We
about.
are so excited for y'all to hear about your mom.
My mom, Kendra Branden, is here today. She got a shout out in our episode from a couple weeks
She
ago.
did. She was the reason why we met.
She was. Yep. Yeah, exactly. JJ's good style. That's Kendra Branden to blame.
She had good taste.
She
She
did.
knew. Yeah.
She did. So, a little bit about Kendra Branden. She was invested in mutual funds for 25 years, making 6 to 7% annualized return on that investment. She also did some house flipping and buy and holds throughout the years. But then, about 6 or 7 years ago, she found multifamily and commercial investing and it supercharged her portfolio. And we are so excited to have her on to tell you more about her experience in the commercial and residential real estate world. So, Kendra Branden, you want to say hi to the pod?
Hi, it's good to be here.
Yes,
Thanks
we're
for
so
having
happy to
me
have
on.
you.
We're
Yes.
so excited. We want to give our potential investors and our audience a peek into passive investing from a passive investor. So you have so much knowledge to drop, so many gems. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes. So you want to start by kind of telling a little bit about yourself, where you're from, who you are, how many kids you have, who your favorite kid is, and just go from there.
By the way,
That'll
you
be
have
easy.
all good-looking kids, Kendra. Every single one
Oh,
of them could be a model. So
oh, thank you. That's so sweet. They are really good kids. So, yeah, I have 5 children, and I'm a real estate investor. I started back when I graduated high school. There was this couple who was graduated a couple of years before me, and they went on to flip houses. Back then it was called rehabbing. There was no flipping houses. It wasn't a term. And they did so well with it, and they were always with their kids, and they always had so much free time. I thought, that's what I want to do when I graduate. So I decided not to go to college, and I graduated and started flipping houses, just got straight into investing. And my parents were never investors. They didn't teach me about how to make your money work for you, how to invest. So I learned all that on my own. And then my whole passion has been teaching my children that at a really young age. I remember we used to always go like driving for dollars, like looking for houses that had overgrown grass or whatever that we could flip the house. And I would have Rachel at like 7 years old calling on the signs and talking to the realtors and saying, getting all the information. She just did a great job. Many times they couldn't even tell that she was a kid.
I love that.
That was fun. So I exposed them really early on.
That's awesome.
That's great.
And
So,
then,
yeah, go ahead and tell us. So you started in residential doing the really pounding the pavement kind of work, right? Driving
right.
around, trying to find distressed properties, trying to
Yeah.
get flips. So tell us a little bit about that and then why you ended up moving over to the commercial side.
Well, it was a lot of work. And then I started having kids. And then, I finally ended up where I had like, I think I stopped after I had you, Rachel. So after my second child, I stopped flipping and I had started, just kept having more kids. So I had 5 kids and I started homeschooling. And so I took a break from real estate for a while. And then when they got a little bit older, I started doing it again. And then I realized that there just had to be a better way, like a faster way to grow my net worth. And so about 7 years ago, I started looking into a couple of different avenues and I settled on multifamily investing. And, what had happened is back in 2008, I lost 40% of my portfolio. And it was in
Wow.
mutual funds. And I mean, it broke my heart because I'd worked so hard. And I thought there's got to be a better way. So I started looking into it. I found multifamily investing and passive investing, which I could still be really present with my kids and not spend too much time with it. what I'm excited about the most is that it didn't take me long to get my whole portfolio invested over into multifamily. It was scary. It was scary moving everything out of the mutual funds and out of stocks where I'd been told, just leave it, set it and forget it. It'll double every 11 years. Well, that was too slow for me. And so when I moved it all over, like in the last 4 years, well, the first 4 years that I was invested, I doubled my portfolio. So we doubled our net worth in 4 years.
Wow. Go, Kendra. So, Kendra, I have a question for you. So, you talked about having a lot of your portfolio in the mutual funds. Were you self managing or was it a financial advisor? And then, if you did have a financial advisor, what was their take on you moving it into commercial investments?
I did have an advisor, and he advised against it. He said it was too risky. And I didn't understand that because I had just lost 40% of everything I had in 2008. And it took 9 years to recover from that. 9 years
Wow.
to come back to even. So he definitely advised against it and said it was too risky. To me, it felt like gambling. Had my money in this that was very volatile. So it was actually the opposite.
Wow, yeah, and I've heard that too, that financial advisors advise against it, but I think it could be in part that they get paid with, how much people have in their portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do. And that's just what they know. People believe in and trust in what they know. And he just didn't have any information on this, hadn't had any experience with it, no history with it.
Yeah, we're really wanting to kind of dispel this myth that you have to be like a Warren Buffett to get started in commercial real estate. And are you able to speak to that at all? Like, because I know because of SEC guidelines, we're not allowed to advertise commercial real estate offerings. So it is a difficult industry to kind of break into as an investor. Do you want to speak a little bit to kind of where you started from and how you found out about this asset class?
Yeah, I was doing some research. I was looking into self storage or multifamily. The reason I chose multifamily, and I looked into it for about 6 months, I chose multifamily because in the Dallas area anyway, there just seemed to be this huge ecosystem that you could draw from. There were meetups, there were all kinds of seminars, and the closest thing I could find on like self storage was, meetups and everything way up north. And so I knew I had to tap into something local. So I started going to meetings and just talking to people, all kinds of meetups, seminars, things like that. And I just wish I'd known about this, 20 years ago. It would have been phenomenal. So now I have this real passion to share it with other people because so many people are still in just stocks and mutual funds and they're accepting this 6 to 7% annualized return that I was accepting. And you can do so much better. So I've had 14 deals go full cycle so far. And that
Wow.
means, like
In how
I
many
bought into
years?
them, they sold um, to date. So in about 6, 7 years, the end of this year,
14 deals go full cycle
yeah,
in 6 to 7 years. That's amazing because I know a lot of the projected hold times are 5 to 7 years. So would you say that a majority sell before their projected hold time?
on average, mine have sold in about 3 years. And on average, they have returned 38% annualized. I mean, that's
Wow,
huge.
that's
Wow.
so,
amazing.
so much
So,
happier with that.
Yeah.
what were the projected returns on those, just on
You,
average?
usually about 100% return. So annualized would be about 20%,
And then the hold time average for those deals were what?
about 5 years.
So you would say uh, most of them outperformed their projections.
Oh, definitely.
That is great.
Yeah.
And I want you to speak to this because I know personally how much it has not only changed your financial future, but also your tax situation.
Absolutely. I mean, we were paying a lot of taxes before we got into this. And now in the last 4 years, we haven't paid any taxes,
Oh
because of
my
the bonus depreciation.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, I love making the money, but I love even more keeping it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. You're the one that worked for it. You should be able to keep it. So are you an active syndicator? Do you go out and find deals and find properties?
I don't want to work that hard. No. We were able to retire 2 years ago because of all of this. So I just want to, look at which investments I want to put my money into, put it in there, and just forget about it. That's what I love. And we just travel. I just love it. It's
So
the
you're fully
best way
passive.
to invest our money.
Amazing.
That's the
That
dream.
that is the dream for me and my family and my husband. I really want to retire him very soon. So you give us so much hope. I am so glad we have your perspective. It's awesome.
Definitely. And I know
Absolutely.
you didn't study finance in college. You didn't need any sort of special qualification to begin, right? Um you just needed the motivation to get out there and learn.
Right. The
And then
one thing that we learned about, we had to look into, do we want more of a value add or a yield play? And what I learned that meant was, do we want more of like a big equity bump, or do we need that cash flow coming in every month? Well, when we first started 7 years ago, we weren't retired yet. So I wanted the big equity bump. I wanted to build my portfolio as fast as I could. So we did that. And now we're looking into more of yield plays, like where from the beginning they're bringing in consistent cash flow because we don't have any other means of income.
Yeah.
yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's really good. So you're kind of balancing it out with the cash flow during the hold period and then the big payout at the end whenever the property sells.
Exactly.
That is so great. And you do need kind of a base understanding of a syndicate and how it works in order to be a passive investor, right? Because you need to make sure that it's going to be the right deal for you and your situation.
Exactly. That's the part that I had to learn is what's the difference between the yield play and the value, the value add, and then the just that monthly for sure money that comes in every month.
So do we want to define what yield play is? It's that appreciation, right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. That is when you're banking on the market appreciation in order for the property to perform projections.
Yep.
So generally, it's a longer hold period.
And it yields monthly cash flow.
Right. Because there's not as much of a rehab up front.
Right.
And then the value add play, you're usually doing a large rehab. And so there might not
Yes.
be those quarterly distributions immediately.
Right.
But you're typically a shorter hold period because you're forcing appreciation.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Or a cash out refi in year 2 or 3, which
Yes.
is really nice because then if they return 60, 70, 80% of your initial investment, then you can go and parlay that into something else. And now you've changed your returns from a 20% annualized to maybe a 40% annualized return.
Yeah.
So are you only in multifamily?
I was until about a year and a half ago. And then I decided to get into some commercial real estate. So we're doing some triple net lease deals.
Ooh,
And
explain
again, I'm
that.
just passive. I don't do the work. I'm just
Yes.
passively involved. But I love those. Those have been really great
So
because
tell
that's
us,
just consistent cash flow. I love it. It's like the same every month. It's wonderful.
It's predictable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please tell us more. What does that look like?
what is a triple net lease?
What does it stand for? We want to know all of it.
Yeah, give us the tea.
Well, it's like the ones that I'm invested in, it's like Dollar Tree, Dollar General. They're all like corporately backed leases to where it makes it really secure. And I mean, I can't get into this is the beauty of not having to know everything about everything. It's just,
Yeah.
that's
No,
what
tell
I
us about
know
the
is
money. Tell us
right.
about the money. That's what we care about here.
Well, we've been getting like 10% cash flow every month. And then you've got, the part where the person leasing your building is paying down your note. And so that's another percentage. And then you've got appreciation on top of that. So it ends up bringing in about the same thing that some of my yield plays bring in on the multifamily side. So, but it's a lot more sure. It's like that monthly cash flow that I can count on, which is what we need right now because we're retired.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a triple net lease. And I'll just explain really quickly for our listeners what a triple net lease is. Generally, triple net leases are for buildings that are in retail centers. So, like my mom said, those AutoZones, Dollar Generals, Dollar Trees, etc. And why it's a triple net lease is because the landlord is not responsible for any maintenance, taxes, or
That's right.
insurance on the property. So that is the triple, 1, 2, 3 net. And like my mom said, these properties are corporately backed. So if Dollar General in Waxahachie, Texas doesn't make enough to pay their lease that month, Dollar General corporate will step in and guarantee that lease. So it's a pro because it's like a blue chip stock, right? So there's not as much risk involved. The con would be that you're signing 10, well, not you as the passive investor, but the active syndicator is signing a 10-year lease for these tenants, which means that they're not able to bump rents as frequently. But you do know that you are going to get steady cash flow per month. So it's a it's a great asset to kind of complement the more lucrative multifamily side of things. I think diversity is key. Would you
Yeah.
agree?
Absolutely. And we're moving more of our portfolio over that direction because of the consistent monthly cash flow. It's not quarterly. So we need that monthly cash flow coming in.
Since you're retired, yeah.
Right.
And Tom Wheelwright talks about using triple net leases in a tax strategy, to avoid taxes in a legal way for your kids in the future. Like if you're going to pass down your investing in a portfolio to your kids, so something to look into. Tom Wheelwright, tax-free wealth.
Absolutely.
Where have you're so knowledgeable for a passive investor. What would you say to the other passive investors that are listening? Where should they start? If they're interested in getting involved in commercial real estate, what do you suggest?
Oh my goodness. My biggest resource was podcast. I would just
Do you have a
search up
favorite podcast?
I've heard
multifamily,
GoodGood Investing is a good podcast
Yeah,
to
I
listen
have
to.
one
not
of the
heard good things.
best. But I just searched up, multifamily, triple net lease deals, any of that stuff on podcast. Just I dig in and just Google things and go to meetups. That's really how I did it.
I want to jump back to that decision that you made with going from stocks and all you knew to multifamily. And I want to talk about mindset because that I think is huge for me and also for you, Rachel. And doing something that you don't really know about, and maybe you got educated, but at some point you have to shift from just taking a leap of faith. So what did that look like for you? And what was your mindset at that moment?
Well, I had always been told, just trust in the system. You just keep your money there. You don't move it. You never touch it until you retire. You just trust in the system, of the financial advisor and the mutual funds and everything. And so, man, moving that over to a self-directed 401k was terrifying. It was like I hope this is right. I prayed about it, I thought about it, I felt good about it. And so many people, so many of my friends and family that I talk to, they'll say, well, I'm going to do 10% of what I have, and I'll wait 2 or 3 years and see how that goes. And I'm so thankful I didn't do that. I'm so glad that within 4 months, I had my whole portfolio moved over to real estate, and it just all started working for me right away. So yeah, it was unnerving, but it was a leap of faith. You're right.
I love that. I love that.
Now, you've already achieved what most passive investors dream of, which is financial freedom. We've talked a lot about financial freedom. It's our big why. And just to explain it again for our listeners, it's just basically when your passive income can finally replace your active W 2 or 1099 income,
Yeah.
which you have been able to do, which is incredible. But what is next? What is your big goal? What's motivating you now that you have achieved financial freedom?
Oh gosh. Just continuing to build my wealth and continuing to help my children, realize their dreams and to just impart, I still have twins that are 20. So, helping them and helping them, like flip houses to make enough money to parlay it into some of these deals and everything. I just want my children to have the same thing that I do. The other thing is just helping other people. I love it when family, friends, new people I haven't met contact me and say, "Hey, how do I get started?" I am so passionate about that because I just love helping people. I wish that I had a Kendra when I started, somebody that I could, talk to and say, "How do I do this? What is this all about?" So I really love helping people get
And I
started.
think I think you've helped so many of our listeners already with all of the nuggets that you've dropped on this episode for
Oh,
sure.
Yeah, there's Andrea and I went to a Tony Robbins event last week, and he said something that made me a little bit emotional, and it might resonate with you, Mom. He said that we should not endeavor to give our kids what we never had. We should instead endeavor to teach them what we never knew.
yes. I love that.
Isn't that
Yes,
so good? Because
absolutely.
it's the whole give a man a fish versus teach them to fish. And like what you do with your friends, you're
Right.
teaching them the tools they need in order to live the life that they've always dreamed of.
Yeah.
And that has been exactly my goal with my children. I want to give you guys the tools, that I never had, and to start really early. If I had started in my 20s or 30s, oh my goodness.
I know. And not even to mention you had a big reset in your 40s also.
Right.
You went through a really hard divorce
Mm.
and kind of almost had to start over. You
Right.
built up this incredible real estate and investing portfolio from when you were young, but then you had to start over in your 40s. So it's
Right.
amazing that where you are now compared to where you were just a few years ago.
Absolutely. I'm so grateful for it. It's such a blessing.
And can we also give a shout out to James Branden, your wonderful husband and my wonderful stepfather? He has
Yes.
been so
Hi,
instrumental.
James.
He's been so instrumental in your journey as well, I know for sure. And Andrea and I are very blessed to also have wonderful husbands. So, do you want to speak a little bit about him and
He
what
has.
he's
He's
doing?
been learning along with me and so supportive. He's also been investing and, his 401k and my 401k. And it's just been fantastic. It's really changed his portfolio as well. So it's been wonderful. I've loved this journey with him because now we are just traveling and if we're like, okay, we want to spend another a certain amount of money every month on travel, then we just get into another deal that's going to provide that much, so it's kind of like covering our expenses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Hey, if someone wants to go out and buy a Tesla, just get in a deal that's going to pay you $750 a
Yes.
month
Yes,
to
exactly.
finance that Tesla.
Exactly.
That's so good, though. I love that. That is awesome. That is so cool. I'm so happy that you have that support, Mom. And I say all this stuff to you as well, but I just want the whole world to know that my mom is the best and I'm
She
super
really
blessed.
is.
I would not know about
Oh,
any of this if it were not for her. I would have not met Andrea if it were not for her. Good Investing would not exist if it were not for her.
Yes. Shout
So, and
out.
me having my own daughter a couple months ago just even more so made me appreciative of everything that she's done
Aw.
oh,
for
Rachel,
us.
thank
Yeah.
you. That's so
Yes.
sweet.
Thank you, Mom, for
Thank you for baby
transforming.
Willow.
Oh, yes. She's so sweet and so
So
spoiled. But
cute.
yeah, thank you so much for providing us with the knowledge to change our financial future as well. That is a gift that I'm so grateful for. And all I can do is just repay it to future generations. So thank you so much. So before
Absolutely.
we sign off, what is the biggest failure that you've had as a passive investor and what did it teach you?
Oh gosh. I think the biggest failure would have been had I not gotten involved right when I found out about it. I mean, that's really it.
Yeah. If
I
you were
mean,
too
some
scared to
deals,
start.
they do they only make 10%, like I've had like two deals that only made 10% return, but then I've had deals that made a 68% return annualized. So it all balanced out to about 38% return. And if I can help anybody out there, if you just want to reach out to me, I would love to talk to you. Hop on a call and, you know, just help you in any way I can.
That is so
Yeah,
generous.
we'll put your contact info
We'll put your contact
available.
info
Yeah.
in the show notes, but also I'll just say it on here quickly. Again, this is Kendra Branden, and you can reach her at Kendra, Kendra, Branden, Branden, gmail.com. Mom, is there anything else you want to add?
I think that's it. I'm so proud of you both for doing this. I've watched your first 2 episodes and it's just so inspiring. I mean, I've listened to a lot of podcasts and I have never seen one like this. I'm so excited to see who y'all put on the show, and I'm excited to continue learning, learning
Oh,
about new
thank
Thank
investments.
you.
you. That is so
Things that
sweet.
Andrea was saying, the people that you're going to be bringing on, the different investments. I'm like, yes, I want to hear about those too. Always open to
Diversify the
learning.
portfolio even more. I love it.
Yes. And can I just say, Kendra, I so appreciate your support. And I got a text message after Kendra heard my episode, my introduction, and she was so supportive, almost made me cry, just how
Aw,
sweet she is and how caring she is, just beautiful person inside and out. So
Oh,
really
thank
appreciate
you.
you.
Absolutely. I just love what you guys are doing.
thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
From
you
the
for
whole
coming on.
community, from the whole investment community, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. So appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Well, Andrea, should we plug our ebook quickly for our
Yes,
listeners?
yes.
So go to GoodGood. I'm not going to put you on the spot this time. Don't worry. GoodGoodInvesting.com. We're also going to link it in the show notes. And head over to our website. You can download our ebook, The 4 Steps to Financial Freedom, and kickstart your journey so that you, like Miss Kendra Branden here, can retire in 5 years and live that financially free life.
Yes.
Yay.
And our tagline is
Don't invest good.
invest twice as good.
Bye.
Bye.